Hello, everybody. My name is Swarali, and I am here to talk about stress and stressors. In today's fast paced world, we are all so acclimatized to stress that we have forgotten the distinction between what it actually is. Is it an emotion, a feeling, or perhaps a perpetual mood? Everywhere we go, we experience a bit of stress. It may be due to the environmental factors or the social factors. That is why it is really necessary for us to understand what stress is and what it does to our body. Here are some terms I will be talking about in depth. Homeostasis. Homeostasis is the process that living things use to actively maintain fairly stable conditions necessary for survival. All living beings require an internal homeostatic balance to be healthy, and so, stress is defined as the effect of any environmental or internal stimulus that threatens this homeostatic balance of the organism. And the stress response which ensues seeks to re-establish that equilibrium of body and mind. Fight or flight is the primary response used to restabilize the body, wherein the body either wishes to stay and confront or flee and evade the situation altogether. It is a physiological reaction that occurs through the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which releases hormones. These hormones make our brain more alert, cause our muscles to tense, increase our pulse, and make us sweaty. In the short term, these reactions are good because they can help us handle the situation causing stress. This is the body's way of protecting itself. In the next couple of slides, we will be looking at the beneficial and maladaptive stress response. Eustress. Eustress is the positive cognitive response to stress that is healthy or gives one a feeling of fulfillment. This sort of stress can help you get the job done. Examples of eustress include striving for a promotion or raise at work, starting a new job, having a deadline which motivates us to work, etc. Such positive stress can be motivating. It focuses our energy, is usually short term, and is perceived as within our coping abilities. It also feels exciting and improves our performance. But again, the stress response to eustress could also be more taxing for some people. On the other hand, distress is the negative cognitive response to any stimulus that causes anxiety and makes coping with the situation harder than it is supposed to be. For example, conflict in interpersonal relationships, bankruptcy or financial problems, unemployment, sleep problems, legal problems, abuse, etc. Distress is used synonymously with stress nowadays. Such negative stress causes anxiety or concern, is perceived as outside our coping abilities, feels unpleasant, and, in contrary to eustress, decreases performance and can lead to mental and physical complications in the long run. According to the duration of the stress response in our body, stress is divided into these three distinct types. An acute stress response is usually short-lived, intense, and the result of a short-term stressor. First responders like ER doctors and nurses, firemen, policemen experience acute stress. It can often be positive and help someone in getting the job done, much like eustress. It is sometimes exciting or exhilarating, but can also cause PTSD in the long haul if someone is continuously exposed to these situations. This stress may physically manifest as headache, pain, upset stomach, dizziness, heart palpitations, and shortness of breath, along with some bowel troubles. Emotionally, it can result in brief periods of anxiety or depression, erratic behavior, and anger. The continuous experiencing of acute stress leads to episodic acute stress. People who usually have a very competitive nature and have unrealistic expectations, usually known as the type A personality, may be prone to develop episodic acute stress. Manifestations of this type of stress are pretty much the same as experienced in acute stress, but for a longer period of time. Athletes, businessmen, and students may be prone to episodic acute stress. Long time exposure to stressors can lead to chronic stress, which is a very unhealthy and dangerous type of stress response. This type of stress is gradually but pervasively precipitated by daily life experiences, which include everyday hassles, poor working conditions, financial difficulties, chronically unfulfilling intimate relationships with romantic partners, parents, children, or friends. It could also be due to continuing health problems and other ongoing burdens. This kind of stress response is a result of pent up emotions towards the stressor and is very harmful for the person. Chronic stress can induce a range of physical illnesses like metabolic disorders, hair loss, autoimmune diseases, thyroid dysfunction, stroke, heart attack, and cancer. Studies have also shown that short term stresses boosted the immune system, whereas chronic stress had a significant effect on the immune system that could ultimately manifest an illness. Hans Selye, known as the father of stress, pioneered the research in understanding stress and stress response. His famous words say that it is not the stress that kills us, it is our reaction to it. Here we come to talk about stressors. What are they? Stressors are the agents that induce the stress response in our body. Stressors have a major influence upon mood, our sense of well being, behavior, and health. Not all stressors have the same impact, and individuals differ remarkably with respect to how they appraise stressful situations and how they respond to them. Based on the effect that they produced on the brain, they are classified as processive and systemic. A stressor that involves information processing. Example, asking yourself, does this guy with the face mask covering his face seem like a mugger? Is referred to as a processive stressor. Many brain regions are involved in these cognitive processes, including neural circuits, memory processes, and those involved in anxiety and or fear responses. These type of stressors do not cause any damage directly but are processed by the cerebral cortex after experience. On the other hand, systemic stressors do not involve the same type of information processing as processive ones, as they entail and direct insult to our biological systems. These require less cognitive processing than processive stressors, as we might not be fully aware that we are experiencing any strain at all. For example, the fatigue and achiness associated with influenza pushes us into bed so that we can rest and thus recuperate readily. Diabetes, heart disease, or a broken bone are systemic stressors and cause immune activation and a whole cascade of biological changes. Here are the results of a survey we conducted that focused on the responses of second year and third year students in the science stream of our college. In general, studies and insecurity about the future are the major stressors experienced, closely followed by family problems and health problems. Pertaining to specifically with respect to education, the workload caused stress the most, followed by screen time and obviously grades. Screen time has been a rising cause of concern in these unprecedented times of COVID, and hence, lowering that kind of stress should be imperative for better mental and physical health. On the basis of their origin, stressors are again classified into two distinct types: internal stressors and external stressors. Internal stressors are the kind of stressors which originate inside a person and may or may not be directly affected by the external environment. Usually would also result from the individual's ability to overthink and overanalyze. For example, if we have unrealistic expectations and are prone to negative self-talk or consciously choose a lifestyle where there is excessive caffeine and alcohol and constant lack of sleep, we are a result of internal stressors. On the other hand, external stressors are the changes in the immediate environment of any individual that elicits a stress response. We cannot control the external stressor, but only our response to it. Examples could be familial stressor, social stressors, work stressors, chemical stressors like alcohol and drugs, and environmental stressors like noise, heat, pollution, etc. None of these stressors can be compartmentalized into a single facet of stress and are therefore very often overlapping with each other. They work together to generate a very unique and specific stress response that is very specific to every individual. No individual will respond the same way to any particular type of stressors, and therefore, it is really important for us to self analyze and help ourselves understand how to deal with stress in our own way. Thank you so much.